All right, peace everyone. Welcome to Moroccan Post live Zoom class. All right, this is Wednesday, September 7th, 2022. All right, we have the Moorish Treaty Protection and Consular Relations, Part 2. Moorish Treaty Protection and Consular Relations, Part 2. We had Moorish Treaty Protection and Consular Relations, Part 1 review last week. All right. So during the course of the class last week, Shem Malachi Bey made a comment about when you get stopped by the cops. So I want to just start with that and bring that back. All right. So we're gonna do both. When you get stopped and preventing the stop. So let's talk both. Let's talk when you get stopped, which a lot of conscious Moors hear that. That's all they hear. All conscious Moors hear is when you get stopped. That's all they hear. They never hear preventing the stop. They never hear that.
Okay.
They never hear preventing the stop. So Shem's gonna start with when you get stopped. Then we'll go with preventing the stop. So let's give them both. All right, Shem.
All right. So hold on before Shem starts, real quick. Abdullah, do you want to do the hold on. Put these out here.
Oh yeah, do that whenever. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Can you put me? That's absolutely. All right. Moors and Masonry Part 1. Moors and Masonry Part 1. Go to moorsandmasonry.org to get Moors and Masonry Part 1. I released this book in December 2016 after 20 years of arduous, laborious work, labor of love, all right, 20 years. So this is, we have Moors and Masonry Part 2. Moors and Masonry Part 2, the power of Moorish treaties and the recovery of lost Moorish sovereignty. All right, so I make the connection between Moors and Masonry Part 1, as Moors and Masonry Part 1 lays the historical foundation for Moors and Masonry Part 1, Part 2. The historical foundation is very important. You're talking about reversion to sovereignty and recovering our lost Moorish sovereignty. In 1968, let's give you a case in the International Court of Justice. So the representative Ceylon in the International Court of Justice. Ceylon had been classified by the United Nations as a new state. The representative of Ceylon met in the International Law Commission of the United Nations General Assembly of the Law of Succession with respect to treaties in 1968. The representative Ceylon pointed to Ceylon's 19th century diplomatic relations. So Moors and Masonry lays the historical foundation for Moors and Masonry Part 2. As we have this showing the tremendous treaty relations, the diplomatic relations, the extensive treaty tribute payments that the Europeans, England and Spain and France and Portugal and Sardinia and the Netherlands paid Morocco. Also, our seizing their ships. So this is a tremendous, historical, voluminous information in Moors and Masonry Part 1. So it's making the connection here. And also in Chapter 1 of Moors and Masonry Part 2, I have what's called points of analysis. So I give the reader in Moors and Masonry Part 1, Part 2, Chapter 1, a guide, and there's those 11 points of analysis and reading and help them along in reading, going through this voluminous amount of information in Moors and Masonry Part 1. All right, next. Then we have the other books. All right. Yes, we have the Moroccan Post Media. The Moroccan Post Media, that's our YouTube page. This class will be uploaded, all right, an hour after the class is over. So we can get this class as well as other classes. We also have the Moorish Body Politic Formation classes. We have 12 Moorish Body Politic Formation classes on the Moroccan Post Media YouTube page. We have Moorish Sovereignty, Moroccan Post Media. All right. Next. Is that it, Terrence?
Yeah, I'm here. One
Is
second.
that it? All right. All right. So we're going to get back to when we get stopped. When we get stopped, then we're going to go into preventing the stop, because these classes, the Moorish body politic formation classes, what the Moorish and Pure Restoration Caucus has been facilitating over the past 3.5 years. This live Zoom classes, this and dealing with the Moorish treaty protection and consolation is designed to prevent the stops. And as we facilitate, as we facilitate Shem Malachi's space plan of a Moorish intergovernmental alliance, a Moorish intergovernmental alliance, whereby the heads of the various Moorish body politics, we need a national governing body so that we can address the atrocities, crime against humanity, mass denationalization, culture genocide, European colonization, Spain, France, the Vatican, Portugal, the Netherlands, Intercaterra Divina, Pope Alexander VI, 1490, March 4th, 1493, where we can address these these issues of the subjugation of our people in the international arena as a national governing body, even as a provincial government, meaning a temporary government, to whereby we would address these issues, and that temporary government would lead into the facilitation of a plebiscite. All right, a plebiscite is where the people, as we in the provisional government that would be outlined to do massive community outreach, massive, whereby we will set up as a national governing body in the a Moorish intergovernmental alliance, with funding, with strategic planning of doing a massive community outreach to millions of our people. We would outline that as part of the provisional government, as we will show the world. We will present this to the world community that we have a plan. We have a massive community outreach plan, thereby to implement a plebiscite. Please hear me. I'm talking about political legitimacy. We will have this outline in writing with strategic and logistics to reach out to millions of our people, to facilitate in a 2-year plan as we begin the process of facilitating a provisional government to address the atrocities of the international community. What I'm doing is I'm mixing political philosophy, political science, and international law. We must come to understand political legitimacy. I am talking political legitimacy. I want to get the ear of the international community. I want to get their ear. I want to perk their ears up. So we must stay in line and harmony with principles of political legitimacy. The sovereignty belongs to the people. That's an inherent power. All right? So I just want to set, and you'll hear me say this about 1,000 times. I'll say this about 1,000 times before the year's out. All right? So Shem, you had mentioned you were going to talk about last week when we get stopped. And I had stopped you, but we want, and I talked to Terrence, and we want to lay out both. We want to lay out both.
I'm gonna stop preventing.
No, let's talk both, Shem. Let's talk both. Let's talk
I'm
code.
going. I'm gonna start with that to prevent it. I'm gonna start with that first. Is that fine?
Start with the preventing?
Yes.
All right, we can start with the preventing the stop.
Okay.
All right.
Since you went there, since you added that in, I think it'd be appropriate to start with preventing. Now, how preventing is once the national government is up or some council is appointed, the council must give notice to the authorized organization that's designated by Congress. They step in as a mediation between any dispute between the states or the United States pursuant to any treaty, convention, or declaration internationally. Their job is the council jurisdiction is established. It takes outside the jurisdiction of the feds. Once you get that proclamation from the government, from the council office, give notice exercise council jurisdiction anywhere in Morocco, and whether it be in the French zone, the Spanish zone, or the British zone. Once that happens, that proclamation can hand it over for the organization to all law enforcement. Now, all attorney general office, all law enforcement get a copy of that proclamation from that government body, from the council office, that anything happen with anybody with these IDs or anybody with these IDs, the name on it, there's a certain website to go to verify everything. The same way they do when they stop you, they look at your sign on your vessel, your car. Your car, your vessel carrying you. Look at the sign back there. That sign represents like a flag. It's a sign, but it's a flag because Pennsylvania, the sign got a symbol in Pennsylvania or Virginia. So it got the sign of the state on there. So the cop stopped. What the first thing the cop do? Protocol, principle. He runs the number on the plate. It goes back to a database to verify what's going on with the council. What the government does is the Department of International Affairs, Homeland Security, they go ahead and create a proclamation and go to we call NIC, the National Information Center. Information go there. So now the cops know when they stop with the ID, they say, wait a minute, we got a memo in a proclamation that there's a nationals from a nation. Now, that's prevented, called government-to-government relationship diplomacy, diplomatic relationship. Now, now Abdullah read a case. See, what happened is, you got to understand with a jurist with a juror's mind. When a Moors stop, the first thing the Moors supposed to do is like this. Like I'm gonna show you what I mean. When an American citizen abroad stop, the Moorish citizen is taught. He's trained through what you call a seminar. When he's in a foreign country, what to say, like here. When a citizen of a state gets stopped by anybody of a law enforcement or any agency, department, agent, the first thing that citizen got a right to the protection of that constitution, the social trust. In that social trust, they got a right to counsel. I mean, somebody represent him on any legal matter. Okay, that's the Constitution, the creature of the law, create the state. Now, when a Moor gets stopped, the Moor can't waive his right. He got to open his mouth and say, well, I have a right to counsel. I want my counsel. Once that is known to the law enforcement officer and the Moor go before the court, if he brought there legally and say, well, I'll speak for myself, I have a right to counsel. They have to get the counsel because it's not waived. If the Moor don't take counsel, a lot of the attorneys step in under the Sixth Amendment, he waives his right to protection of his country, but not proclaiming that right in court, open court. He got to make a proclamation in court. Then he got to say, look, I got a right of this on the record. Once he acknowledged and the courts deny him or they go against him, now that right is reserved. That means the council can come in later on and say, wait a minute, you violate his right under the human right, the Bill of Rights, the Human Rights Bill of Rights that put up by the UN, United States signed it and ratified, Congress ratified it, the president signed it. You violate his right under the Human Rights Bill of Rights. You violate his right under the convention, under the declaration that we signed. You agree, the president signed it, Congress consent to it. Now, he made an open proclamation that he got rights. You did not contact the consulate. What happened is, now the consulate jurisdiction kicks in. The consulate take that case now, full jurisdiction of that case, and it won't go to appeal. The council now got power to say, you know what, the conviction is void. Now, I'm gonna tell you what I mean. He can declare it being void because he was not there. Now, somebody said, how can he do that? I'm gonna explain something to you. The federal government the senators created the subcommittee of foreign relations. Let me explain what I mean. They got it called a writ of assistance. The council can stamp his seal on something being illegal, done a violation. He can force that council seal on the federal rules of evidence with a writ of assistance, go directly to the Supreme Court for commentary and file a writ. The Supreme Court, by law, have to issue the writ of assistance, not the writ of habeas corpus. The writ of assistance means the council made an order and say release that prisoner. He granted the writ. The council granted the writ of habeas corpus and say legally detained in violation of a treaty. And he gives a judicial notice to the Supreme Court that when you reach a decision, and the Hague decision, that if a national claimed that right to counsel, his right under international law, is not waived. Once you make a proclamation, it's not waived. There's a violation of the state in the United States enforcing that right. So we got to understand how what's going on. Well, they're looking at the last thing passed dealing with that treaty or the act. Now, you must remember, anything that's not claimed is waived. Let's stop saying what we don't know what hurt us or what we don't say. We don't have to say no. Yes, you do. You got to say something. It's waived. If you don't tell me you are more, apart your ID and say contact the council and make that claim all the way through, you waive it. You waive the text of your what? Your country, your mother. You waive that text. Please listen to me. It's very important. When a child's in trouble, a child holler out to his father or mother for help. You, the child, holler for your country protection. That's the treaties. So we can't waive our rights. We don't need a supervisor, we need a council. And everybody should be driving around with a card to hand to a police officer, whoever it may be. Say, well, he go a card to the council called my ID. Now I'm gonna tell you what happened. Liability falls on the police officer, and the state don't have jurisdiction anymore. That's why the council, see, everything done up front by your government. Your government was to lay out the framework to counsel the relationship. Diplomatic relationship, they know already. How do they know? Because the council already dealing with the head agency designated by Congress, the head matters. And now what happened is Homeland Security already got copies of that national, the council notification, the national in the database, the NIC, National Information Center. See, once that happens, there's no problem. Anything else you add, Abdullah?
Man, I'm doing the running man, brother. I'm doing the pound, doing whatever dance you want me to dance, man. Man, brother, I've been waiting for it, man. Shoot, brother, I'm about to cry, brother.
Brother Shem, could you repeat those agencies? Could you repeat those agencies, Brother Shem?
Yes. The council of the government that's appointed by the Imperial Parliament Council, selected by them and appointed consent by them, and signed off by the Prime Minister of our government. That council is supposed to do through the state international department. We supposed to have an agency we create to deal with international affairs. The council give to the agency a council jurisdictional notice. There's a council in the city or in the state of the United States. All you gotta do is be in the United States territory. That's all it takes. They call all the United States. It gotta be in one Mississippi state. Anywhere in the domain, let me explain something to you. First of all, if a council is designated in the United States, he's in the British jurisdiction. So the British Dominion got power, British Rim, because all the United States and the states are in the British Dominion, British Rim. So they don't own any land. They don't have title or nothing. They went back into the territory that was already divided by the crown, Spain, France, and Britain. There was already maps drawn out, already survey maps drawn out. Our territory, dominion. So the United States don't have any dominion. They operated in somebody else's dominion, using somebody else's currency. So they obligated. What that mean? That means now the agency is only can do it here, the matter based on international law. No state law, nothing. Only based on international law. The council got all jurisdiction. The council got to get notice to the agency, council notification that he's in the United States, protect these nationals. Now, let me explain what I mean. This is a case I gave Professor Abdullah. A woman killed her husband in Japan in the armed forces. Now, with the military convicted her, gave her life in prison. What they're trying to say is that She didn't have no protection. United States, yes, she did. That's the United States Army base, Army base, military base. Therefore, they had a treaty with Japan. Once that woman came on that army base, that became territory of the United States. Therefore, she protected, which attached to her is the protection of her Constitution, even when she go overseas. So you see now how the Supreme Court shut down the state was this, the military was this. There was a case with a council. They tried to say, well, the council heard something convict. You know, the council got power to convict too and give pardons. Yes, the council can become the guardian and conservative of the state. The council can do pardons, and the council can do a decree for any name change. Yes, that's a government structure, very important. Understand the power we got. See, what it is see, we've been turning on each other with arguments over falsehood and truth. They do so much falsehood and misconception out there, got us arguing among each other instead of coming together on a common principle. What's working? Where's the evidence at? What's going to work for the Moors? And
Shem,
what happened
we're turning this thing around, Shem. We got turning this thing around. It's been this, like you said, Shem, it's been over 100 years of misconceptions. We're
yes.
turning this thing around. Proper education is going to turn this thing around. We can turn this thing around, man. You're doing a wonderful job, brother. I bow to you, brother. I unwrap my fez, tip my fez, my tarboos, and I'll wrap my turban, brother. All right, we can turn this thing around.
Like the brother say on Moroccan Post about a week ago, he said everybody's trying to do individualism or trying to be what you call the head, the monarchy. It's not like that. We got to protect each other as a group of sovereign states, associate ourselves with each other as one national government at Morocco, exercise the same authority that the Sultan had. See, the Sultan relinquished that authority to France. Yes, it's in the treaty of Fez. We got to stop lying to our people and talk about, no, what happened is, that's why France is the head sovereign in Morocco. What the Moors have to do is, we have to be able to get a government started so we can do diplomatic channels, diplomatic relationship with the foreign nations. Then, see, once we deal with the principle, we don't worry about the child. The child got to fall in line. They cannot compromise. That's why in the Gospel versus the Heavy case, it made it clear there's no title in state. People don't understand. Wait a minute, I thought the state got title. No, it don't. Because the colony charter is already established by the crowns. Spain, France, Portuguese, Denmark, Dutch, all these European powers already had zones there. The United States went back into the British zone, was able to operate a corporate organization called the United States. So when they create their charter, the Constitution, that's the father, that's the mother of the United States. The United States is a creature of the Constitution. The Supreme Court would say, the United States is a creature of the instrument, the Constitution. They go no further what the instrument grant them, nothing else. And what we have to do is the same thing. We have to create a constitution where though it's a social constitution among ourselves, where though we become mature enough to say, listen, we're going to set among ourselves government, institute government among ourselves, so we can protect our women, our children, our land, so we can go and fish in our land, do commerce in our land, grow food in our land. Right now, we can't even slaughter animals in our own land or grow food without license. Why? Because they don't acknowledge us being the people. So doing this government to government relationship with one another and sign a treaty, that's it. Once we do that, there's nobody else to do that but ourselves. Now we accept all the diplomatic relationship we need, but we gotta remember, all for one, one for all. That's how it goes. That's how it goes. Well, when I met back up with Professor Abdullah, he didn't argue with me or nothing. He said, let's do it. You're right. I love Professor Abdullah. When somebody wrong about something, he gonna say it wrong. He wrong about something, he gonna be wrong. That he made an error, I misquoted, I missaid it. That man is honest. I've been dealing with that man for a long time. He's honest. He would make me correct some of my errors and mistake out, but I say something too fast. I don't get mad at him. Thank you, Professor. I start going to slippery slope. You do a rope to me. Get back to Shem. No. You slide down, Shem. You climb up the pole, you put grease on it. slide back down. So we got to have our antennas up. We got to learn. We got to learn international law and be a jurist. We got to think like a jurist. When we be thinking, oh man, they don't honor that, they don't honor that. Yes, they do. They honor it. You just haven't researched. You'll know how to make them honor it. Why you think Congress said to select senators to set a subcommittee? Under that subcommittee, they got a council on foreign relations. The council go about what Congress, that committee found, and they make statutes and regulations and place them in the federal registry. That's enforced international law. Then they set an agency in the Office of International Affairs and State Department. The agency, the only agency to deal with the foreign affairs for the United States. We don't know. It's right in the Justice Department. Or the Justice Department just lock people up and prosecute. No, they don't. That's what they want. That's what they want you to see. The media let you see. The media, they want you to see the truth. So I mean, we gotta have rhythm training. We gotta learn ourselves and teach our people where the real authority's at, and just deal with that. Don't worry about their course. That's their course for their citizens, for their status, and not for us. Just like every election, they elect their judges, they elect their senators. We're supposed to have elections. We elect our people from our different state, who we're going to sit up here and make up the Imperial Parliament Council. And from there, everybody, all the votes going for who will be ahead of that Moorish national government, a lady or man who are authorized, and then we set security, defend ourselves, not only against the Albions, but against our own people, because we're going to have a lot of our people also that's unconscious, that's going to be scared that they're going to lose their pension. They're gonna go against them. They're gonna be scared. And for a good cause, sure, they got a right to be scared because they're new to them. They don't know nothing. So we got to be able to protect them. How we protect them? By having an education system that can't be torn down, shut down. Once we create the education, our own media, on authority of our government, then we can go out freely and get real stories, and then we can teach them and bring them into our jurisdiction and teach them and get free. How we free them that's scared? Come over here, move over here, and we give you, we go ahead and give you your nationality, your national status back, you claim, and then we'll protect you. How we do that? We should protect your commerce. How to take your assets under Foreign Asset Protection Act. All this is written in foreign law. We just don't know about it. It's a lot of things we can do. Go ahead, Abdullah. You add anything?
No, Michael. I want to go right into Terrence. Where are we on the slides? Where are we on the slides, Terrence? I wanted Shem to address that, both when you get stopped and preventing the stop. He did a wonderful job. He did a wonderful job in talk and discussing preventing the stop. A wonderful job.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
we already hear when we get stopped, because we haven't, heard government structure, So absolutely, yes. Where are we with the slides, Terrence? I want Michael to talk about because this is our consular notification. Michael, I want you to talk about the Texas versus Medellin case, and then that'll lead us to the Mexico, United Mexican States versus United States in International Court of Justice. So go ahead, Michael. This falls on the consular notification. All right. The Vienna Convention on Consular Relations and consular notification. Going to the Texas versus Medellin, Michael.
Excuse me, before you start, do you remember which page we left off?
No, I don't remember the page. Michael, can you put your video on? Can you put your video on?
Yeah, I'm trying to do that now. Yeah.
And I can barely see the pages, Shem. Terrence, like from where my people.
I'm gonna see if I can blow it up somehow.
Yeah, I don't. I could see them before last week, but I couldn't stop. All right, so waiting for Michael.
How about that?
Michael.
Yeah, hold on a second. Give me it's not letting me access.
Oh, yes. You can't access the video?
Yeah, I
Hey,
can't access
T,
the
you
Go to
video.
a little bigger?
Yeah, I can't access the video, right? For some reason, I can't do it. It's not even
But you on
allowing me
your
to do
computer?
that. No, no, I'm on my phone.
It said
I'm
it
on my
has
phone.
stop video.
Yes. See,
It would have at the bottom. Stop.
No. I know how it is. I'm hitting the button and it's not letting me do it. That's the
All right,
issue.
he could just go. He could just go.
All right, go ahead, Michael. Go ahead, Michael.
Hey, Tim, blow it up a
Okay.
little more.
All right, give me 1 second.
Michael?
Yeah. Okay. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Everyone in? All right, everyone can hear me, right?
I can hear you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good to hear me. Okay, yeah. Professor asked me to elaborate on the Medellin versus Texas case. I'm going to have to take whatever data I know from that case because I came about that case. Truth be told, I came about the case. I was reading a book that dealt with Moorish treaties, and it was basically talking about the importance of treaties, and it went into a different Supreme Court cases and et cetera, et cetera. Nonetheless, this particular case, Medellin versus Texas, it emphasized, the importance of consular notification, upon a defendant's request, regardless of the matter. So if I'm just give me because like I said, I didn't read this actual case myself. I came across it, and I never got a chance to actually read the case. I was just reading the book, and it was referencing a book. But this case was really dealing with a individual that was a Mexican national, and this case pretty much made it to the Supreme Court, and pretty much the Texas authorities. This Mexican national was being accused, and he was detained for. He was one of a few who that was detained for smuggling drugs, and of course, the proper, the protocol, the Texas authorities, they arrested him, they detained him. However, he had requested, for consular notification. He wanted to speak with his consul, and that wasn't granted to him. So what happened was, I guess the Texas authorities kind of stalled with him. And just like anything, they was trying to, pin him down, using psychological warfare and coercion by just holding him, because usually, you'll spill the beans and usually start talking the longer they hold you. So his argument was that he was basically compelled to just start talking and saying things that normally would have been suppressed if he was given his consular assistance. And this case made it to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court ruled, they ruled against him, and they ruled in favor of Texas. And this case made it all the way to the International Court of Justice. Now, the International Court of Justice, the thing that's the most important about this case more than anything, what he did, what he was accused of, that's non-germane. That's not important whatsoever, literally. Based on the ICJ's views. In this case, the ICJ ruled that he was right and that the United States was in error, and that, saying the judgment should, his verdict should be overturned. However, the United States Supreme Court ruled against the ICJ and said that the reason why they didn't have to honor, his rights of consular notification was because the Vienna Convention on Consular Notification, that multilateral treaty, is a non-self-executing treaty, which means that when it's a non-self-executing treaty, there needs to be an act of legislation, okay, that needs to be implemented, like a statute or something that has to be implemented in order to invoke a non-self-executing treaty. Unlike a self-executing treaty, there's no need, need no act of Congress or legislation to enforce it. All courts, based on United States Supreme Court ruling, all courts are supposed to, lower courts are supposed to take judicial notice and honor, whatever activities growing out of them, for self-executing treaties. Now, however, like I said, the highest court with the highest judges in the world, irrespective of that non-self-executing treaty, ruled in favor of the defendant. When I spoke to Professor about this, and and Terrence, I was saying, that is pivotal. That is very, very vital to everything that we're doing, in so much that, here we have is Moors, most of these treaties with Moors, like the Treaty of Peace and Friendship of 1836, the 1856 treaty, the Spanish treaties. These are self-executing treaties that deal with, peace, amnesty, and commerce. And, they're self-executing treaties. And here it is. So there's without a shadow of a doubt, we're allowed to enforce those treaties, in a court of law. And as through consular notification, we can navigate and instruct the courts and give them directives through these self-executing treaties. But the ICJ, they was dealing with a level of what? Diplomacy. They was dealing with a culture. All the ICJ was viewing it as, this Mexican national was not a United States national or United States citizen. You never had the delegation of authority. I don't care if there was no consular clause inside the treaty between the United States and Mexico. I don't, regardless of if it was a non-self-executing treaty, you had the diplomatic courtesy to give his government and hand him over to his government, rather than go ahead and execute and adjudicate the matter. And the ICJ ruled. So for us, that is, like I said, it's paramount, in so many ways, because like I said, for us, what we're doing, we want the ICJ to be as, observative, analytical, and also to deal with it based on just what it is. They had no right to impose, any detainment on this man. If anything, if they felt that he was doing something that was, unethical, they were supposed to contact the authorities, as we know this already, and hand him over, and then let his government do what they were supposed to do. But this just goes to showcase how, the United States, they call the Moors a sovereign citizen movement, as our professor says, and that law enforcement system is a sovereign citizen movement. But this is a clear case law where that was a sovereign citizen act on behalf of the United States. Because they was actually supposed to give the Mexican government that much courtesy, because that's diplomacy. That's the purpose of these multilateral treaties. It doesn't matter how you cut it or try to fine tune it. It all comes down to diplomacy, professionalism. There was greed and unprofessionalism on behalf of the United States to take this man, adjudicate, and basically say, so what? Basically, the Mexican army, they're a bunch of punks. I guess, hey, we have to call it what it is. We got to call it just what it is. What is Mexico going to do? That must be how they viewed it. So, but like I said, but nonetheless, the ICJ, this case is, like I said, was pivotal, for that part right there, is that they seen it as, United States was in error for what they did, irrespective of a self-executing treaty for consular notification. I digress for now.
All right. A lot has been said. This is all reviewing what Shem talked about. But I wanted to put it in the perspective of when we get stopped versus preventing the stop. I want to have that dichotomy there. It's very important that we continue to push that. All right, to give conscious Moors and unconscious Moors another side, another glass of water to look at, because all they know is when you get stopped. They don't know, because that government structure and right now. There's a lot been said. Before I want to continue, I want to fill some questions, because a lot has been said, even in this review. And I want to slow this down. I want to make sure those who are listening are digesting what's being said. So let's fill questions for the next 15 minutes. We'll fill questions for the next 15 minutes, and then we'll move on. I know this questions. I've been teaching for 100 years. I've been teaching for 100 years. I taught several thousand people for 100 years, and I know there's questions. So I'm going to give it.
In fact, I do see a question in the chat by Sister Angela.
All right.
It says, Brother Shem, can we enforce the civil letter from Pope Francis to Barack Obama with these civil agents?
Well,
What's the question?
It says, can we enforce the civil letter from Pope Francis to Barack Obama with these civil agents?
All right, Jim.
when the president signs something without the consent of Congress, it's not considered
Excuse
SEPT.
me, what's that noise in the background? What's that noise in somebody shuffling something?
That's me.
Put your phone on mute. But why you shuffling? Don't shuffle.
All right. What happened is
It's distracting.
that's a private letter from the Catholic Majesty. What we have to enforce is this. See, don't look at the letter. Remember, the Act of Algiers, the Act of Tech Morocco, the Pope, an agent for the Pope, His Majesty signed them acts and 2 acts. You enforce the acts. If the Pope agent is there signed on behalf of the Catholic Majesty, enforce that because that's a subject executed agreement. See, because that act was signed by the president and ratified by Congress. So the Pope's signature is on that. So what you do is say of this act that the Holy See is a part of, the Catholic Majesty agent signed for the Catholic Majesty, and full authority, he appoints somebody in full authority if he was there signing. And later on, he signed a decree and gave it to the president saying, we in violation of human rights laws. I mean, that's the law. You have to force it to something that's considered a sub-executed agreement. You attach to that. You just can't use the agreement of the Pope because the United States said, even though the United States did sign a treaty with Catholic Majesty, and Congress ratified, there's a treaty, yes, yes it is. The Catholic Majesty signed a treaty.
But that's not the question. The question is the letter. Stay on the letter.
The letter can be forced as an international obligation. No.
Don't mention the treaty. Don't go off. Remember, you gotta stay within the question. Stay within the question.
The letter is considered like a bull or a pistol. But it's not a treaty.
Be enforced. Can that letter be enforced? That's the question. We got to stay in.
No, they won't force that international law. No, it won't. Nope. You know why? Because even though Barack Obama signed it, don't get a letter forced as executed in the States. Because there's no binding obligation. The letter put a binding obligation on Congress or the country, United States.
Right. I thank you, Angela, for asking that question. And I know why she asked that question, because that letter was read for 10 years. I won't mention any name. So I already know why she asked that question, because that letter was read for a period of maybe 5 or 6 years to thousands of people. All right, that was read to thousands of people, and people really think that that letter has enforcing authority. All right, so that's why I know why she asked that question.
Now let me get illustration. When COVID came up, and the Holy See went to the courts and said they got a right to worship. Why any interference? The letter never came up as evidence or factual proof. The letter never came up in the court.
Put your phone, bring your phone down. Bring your phone down. Bring your phone down.
The letter never came.
Right there.
The
Right
letter
there.
never
Keep it
came
right
up. Yeah, the letter never came up as proof.
there. Right there. Keep it right there.
In the court, when Supreme Court went to court, the Capitol Chair went to court, they used the letter that was sent to Barack Obama. See, they didn't use the letter. So if they didn't use it, why would we use it? Yet the Catholic Church during COVID was told, all churches told they can't worship without a mask. The Catholic ministry had an international lawyer, went inside the courts, federal courts, and knocked that down. And what they used was not the letter. They did not use the letter. And the letter was so powerful, they used the letter to stop them from telling them they can't worship. So the Catholic Church is not using the letter to take its membership of the congregation. How can the Moor use it to take his rights in Morocco, his own country? How? Or the United States jurisdiction. Because they didn't use it. So I look at what they use. If the Catholic Church would say, well, we got a letter signed by the president and Congress sent to the letter, we had agreement, a mutual agreement.
Don't change the position of your phone. Don't change the position.
What happened is, if that had happened, then there'd been a mutual agreement brought up in the court of that letter. The letter did not even correspond. The only thing came up is a violation of the Second Amendment. As you can see, the Catholic Church membership is based up on what? Citizens of the United States and citizens of the state. The Catholic Church thing was their rights are being violated. Even the priest or the monk is a citizen of the state or United States. He ever claimed he's not claiming to be a citizen of a foreign nation and that foreign national. The priests, they all claim to be United States citizens in the clergy position as a priest or a monk or a minister.
All right, Shem, let's just fill another quick. You still in that first question. I'm gonna end that, Mike. I'm gonna end that. That's another question. Another question.
I do see one here. S. Mary Bay typed in the chat. How are we to respond to law enforcement when being detained by them?
All right, Shem. Hold on, Shem. And that's why I wanted to fill questions. But Jim talked about when you get stopped and preventing the stop. First, he went to preventing the stop. All right, so this goes back to the question: when you get stopped. That's what he's asking. She's asking, that Dr. S. Murray is asking when you get stopped. All right. I love the preventing the stop, though. I do. Go ahead, Shem.
Okay. Let me say something. We got to be real time. If you driving this car that's certified by that's owned by the state, what I mean is that the car dealership is licensed by the state or the United States. All their titles go to the State Department. The state issued that car. It's not your own. Somebody else is on. You're driving it without a license. I'm a Moor. I got a right to navigate, travel back and forth. Okay, here we go. Now we deal with treaty matters here. The cop is on the program, but program educated to say when he see a car with certain tags on of a state, he got power to stop because whoever that car must be a passenger and a citizen of the state that he's in, the state the tags on the car is, or a citizen of the United States. So when they stop you, he asks you for ID, he gonna ask, do you have a driver's license? Wow, he asks that for a reason. That's how he's educated and trained. Anybody operating a vehicle registered in the state must have a driver's license, permission from the state to operate that vehicle. That vehicle is not owned or not protected under protection of a Moorish government. Therefore, not under the protection of a treaty. Even though you riding there, it's still not protection of a treaty because the property belongs to somebody that belongs to the state. You driving a vessel without a flag on it, a sign, a Moorish state's flag sign on it, with a tag and a database to go back and make it look that car up and show the paperwork go back to a Moorish government. Therefore, the counselor, when they stop you, he used to argue. You wouldn't talk, he said, you can ask my counselor. He got a counsel number, everything can be answered by counsel. That's what a counsel is for. You can contact the council. I'll call him on the phone right now. There's no argument. See, now we talking about the stop, but the prevent the stop,
Hold on,
that
Shem.
won't happen.
Before you get into preventing the stop, there are Moors, there are conscious Moors. Because somebody's probably asked this, they're gonna probably ask this question. There are conscious Moors who have Moorish tags on the car, right? What is the problem?
There's no government relationship.
There you
That the
go.
Moors,
There you go. Now that leads into, all right, so there we go. Because then people say, well, there's tags on Moorish cars. They got Moorish tags on their car. All right, why did they get stopped? They got tags on their Moorish cars. All right. So getting to there's no government relation.
I mean, there's no diplomatic channel. I mean, there was no proclamation by the Moorish state to the Homeland Security and organization, the Justice Department that designated by Congress to deal with that matter. The Office of Foreign Affairs, the State Department. Once you go to Homeland Security, they designate by the United States to handle all kinds of secure, all international affairs now. Once that paperwork goes to them and they get it from the proclamation from the council office that these are the tags they look like, these are IDs. Now it goes out, Homeland Security sends their memos out to all the law enforcement. Believe me, the law enforcement officer can pull that up in a database and say, well, look at the tag. Do they fit this here? We got a proclamation. Give me the ID. When they look at it, they say, no, he's all right. All we gotta do now is call the number and verify the tags and call the number in a database, and it'll come up the Moore's picture, his service operational card, and his ID, Moore's ID, and the number to contact if it's a problem. Now that's how you prevent it. But you, as a Moor, when you drive in a car like that with tags like that, we have to educate the Moors when they buy the car. This is how you protect your right. Here go a card. Hand him this card. Because remember, not all the cops, Barack Obama made it funny to all the governments to what? That we're body cams now. So every Moor they got a tag, they got body cam. Once you hand a cop the card and show the paperwork, the cop automatically has somewhere to go to a database and say, well, my government sent a proclamation on Homeland Security is in Homeland Security. That's called government. That's called it. Now, if you got a problem with that, call the council. You have to call my council. Now, once he knows he can't call the council because he's in trouble, he can't have authority. So he's supposed to call the State Department. Say, I got a problem here. I got a Morris National here, and he got the paperwork, give me the call to call the council off. What should I do? They're gonna tell him, do the tags go back to any way to verify the tags? Or who? Yes, we got a proclamation here from the State Department to us, the Attorney General Office, the Department of State, that these are the tags. Look, and this that. He got the cop got to go by that. If he don't, then he got to contact the council. Now, if he detain you or lock you up, that don't mean your right to counsel is waived. All the way through, you got to write to counsel. This is why I tell everybody, when you have a card, they got to give you a phone call. The phone call you make is not to your family. If you make it to your family, let them call a council office so you come down there and get you out there. We got to teach our people this. They don't know this. Even they cops don't know this. The reason why they cops are not trained this way, because they're looking to make money, revenue, or bonds. See, the state went crazy off bonding everybody as a surety. That's money. You get your phone call.
You know what, Shem? I want to put it on us though. Shem, I want to put it on us. Let me stop you from Shem. I want to put it on us. The reason why the cops aren't trained this way, I hear what you're saying, they want to make money and all that. And I don't agree with what you're saying. That's the reason why they're not trained that way. The reason why they're not trained this way is because of us. They're not trained. Let's put it on us. They're not trained this way because of the 100 plus years of misconception about this Moorish movement. They're not trained this way, all right, for a lack of a Moorish national governing structure. Because when we put that in place, They're going to be trained this way. We got to put the pressure through our national political unity, whereby Congress will legislate funding for them to be trained this way. Let's put it on us. I don't care about they want to get bonds and money. No, let's put it on us so we can set $1 billion lawsuit in the International Arbitration Court against them. Let's put it on us. The reason they're not trained this way because of lack of Moorish national government structure.
Yes, that's the more important first reason, principal reason. Yes, I agree with that. Well said. It's on us because we can't talk about, well, they're going to do what they're going to do. No, that's not true. You can't say that. No, let's do what we got to do so they can do what they got to do. That's what it comes down to. The Abdullah said, man, keep your doing. You got a right to defend your house. You can say, well, he keep the door. I can't beat him. Well, you got to do something. Your family in there. Mm-hmm. So the blame is on you, the principal, the malefactor, the protector. We are the protector of our people. We got to put up a structure. We know it's water running. The dam is burst. What we do, we build some way for the water to go down to a valley, so we're coming out and take over our house and crops. That's the nature. So we had to build a structure so we can do government-to-government relationship with them so it won't happen. I agree.
And the reason why that's important, Shem, got to continue to get the people's minds in that line of thinking. You know, because it's been too much of the cops want to have their bonds and they find that it's been too much of that. It's been too much of that. So we got to continue to push government structure, facilitate, teach, continue along this line and put the pressure on us. Put the pressure on us to unite politically so we can address that. They're not trained because of the lack of national Moorish government structure. Because we can put the pressure where Congress will legislate funding. Congress will legislate funding for them to be trained. We send a tape to them. We put together a tape, a videotape that all workers, everyone, all the land and all these jobs have to watch. They have to sign. It's like they have to sign. It's like with about that Chinese. All right. All these jobs had to watch a tape. They had to watch a video. Well, we could put together a video. What is a Moor? Who's a Moor? Put together a video, and we send them the video, and that'd be mandatory. All jobs, all cops, all agencies, all everywhere, that they have to watch it 30 minutes, 40 hour, whatever. What I'm saying, my brothers and sisters, this is easier. This is easier than the individual upon individual upon individual upon individual upon individual, and all these towns, townships, municipalities, cities. This is easy. This is less work. This is less work than the individual upon individual upon individual upon individual upon individual. I've seen this for almost 30 years. Individual upon individual cases of individual cases, and no progress. You know how much resources that is? I'm talking about resources, time too. Resources, time. Whether you get it dismissed or not, it's resource time. So you get dismissed, that's only for you. That's only for you. Then they're going to mess with you again. They mess with the person down the street. They mess with somebody else somewhere else. It's never ending. I got 29 years of observation. This is easier.
I agree.
Yeah, me too.
All right, before we move on, I need, can Team Nunji, me, and Kinj text me your number. Text me, just text me, 215, I got everybody else, and Nabil Ill, 215-300-5471. Just text me your name, and I'll have your information, your number. I have everybody else's. That's Team Nunji, Kinj, that's me, and Nabil Ill. 215-300-5471. All right. One more question, because one more question. If not, we'll just move on.
I just have a quick comment about this is easier. It's easier because you don't have the individual, the individual court cases. Oh, I beat traffic court, or I beat this case, because it does not transfer. That particular case does not transfer to another more. So the easier comes when you have a government structure, and then that it starts from the top down. Because when we're doing individual by individual case and it's not transferring over to another more, like I said before in a previous class, it's like you're running up a mudslide. You're running up a mudslide trying to get to the top. So, let's take a helicopter to the top. You don't have to run up the hill. Government structure, it starts from the top down.
Now, T, I'm glad you said that, T. I didn't want to go into that. See what T just said, very important. Why?
Islam.
Now, I'm going to explain something about the Mexican case. The Mexican national, when he come here, whether he come to immigration, he considered a legal alien once he get here to immigration. Now watch this. What happened is the Mexican government supposed to orientate him to stay in touch. Anything happen, you make your phone call the Mexican government so we can send the council. Let me explain the council do when they get there. See, the council job is the first thing is to remove it out of state court with letter rogatory, international affairs. Once you do that, get notified to the agency that separate council notification, that means council becomes the judicial officer now in that matter. International law kicks in. He take it out of that court and move a letter rogatory to he just take it in notice of the to be filed inside the state, the federal court, but that letter rogatory is taxed, the international affairs in the council jurisdiction. And based on that, the federal court don't have jurisdiction now. The next thing you do is you go to his court based on the treaty and transfer to his court. So the council to the council court, the council now does a notice of removal from the federal court to the council court on federal law, signed by a subcommittee of foreign relations. That's the law, regulation, codes and stuff, and codes, regulations, and statutes. He removed it based on that, on the treaty. What happened now, the council got exclusive jurisdiction in the council court. The federal court don't have, now it's removed out of the federal court to the council court. Now there's proper notification going on now, because the council get notification, the council got a right to jurisdiction, and the council also got a right to be the guardian and conservatorship over the Moors estate, which is the body. See, this is very deep. This nobody never taught it before. I could back this up in law, show you in law. This is passed in federal regulations. This is passed by the Senate committee. They make up these laws. Then they hand to the Council of Commission of Foreign Relations, and they make it to statutes and codes. See, we never, Abdullah, they have nobody been teaching the proper concepts. All we've been taught, follow behind the Patriot movement, do UCC1's security agreement. How you do UCC1's security agreement and you ain't got no status? How you gonna be a creditor? Moore is a creditor. Anybody that's not part of Morocco is a debtor. United States citizens are debtors to Morocco and their own government. Yes, they are the debtors. So how you going to court saying, well, can I see your bond? You have the judge to see his bond now. What happened is you don't have no status going to court return the judge. He got to show he's assured. But what's protecting you? You ain't supposed to be this saying anyway. The counsel supposed to be the one doing all the litigation. He's the judicial officer. He said, he do a letter of interrogatory. He said, hand me over all the transcripts, bring the witnesses here. He had all the witnesses. He make a determination. Matter of fact, whatever he ruled, you cannot appeal in federal court. A Moorish counsel rule, you cannot appeal at any court. You go to the Count General Office of Morocco to appeal that case. That's the only way. Read the treaty, 1856, the British treaty. Very, very important. The Granada Treaty made it clear that Moors have all their political rights to jurisdiction over civil, political, and criminal affairs. That same principle was established in the Treaty of 1856. Why did the British Crown say that 1856 treaty? Because they've been familiar with the Granada Treaty. They're familiar with that. The principles. The Moors always had sovereign right over their own government affairs, their own civil and criminal matters. The Day Treaty with the United States, it said any dispute arise concerning this treaty or anything criminal or civil, it said the days of Algiers had what? Jurisdiction. That treaty of the United States with the days. So if the Day or more got jurisdiction as a council, that's in the treaty of the United States with the Day. It said Article 9. I believe it's Article 9, Article 11. It said any dispute arise, the Day should have jurisdiction, all criminal matters. Come on now. The Moors got jurisdiction. But the thing about it is, we have not had a government, standing government, so we can force these laws. Have officers step up. That's all we need, a standing government.
We can move forward. Somebody had their hand up. Hey, that Team Nugent. Pacola, you were on last week. I didn't know you were, got it, huh?
I was not on last week.
Hold on. I got that.
Absolutely not.
The other 2 weeks ago. You were on 2 weeks ago.
Peace, Nicole. How you doing, Nicole? I hear from you in a while. Peace.
Yeah, you were still 2 weeks ago. Yes, I got you down. But I didn't know it was you though.
How you doing, Nicole?
Yeah, I've been taking attendance. Yeah, yes, for you on here last week.
Are you listening?
Yes.
So, so I'm in my conveyance and I'm leaving Traverse City, Michigan. I'm leaving work. I'm leaving a job where I work in surgery and I have been at for the last 11 weeks. When I get one paycheck, it's $4,400. That means that I make $8,800 in a month, being able to sustain myself and my family. I'm not in the Bronx, where I've been for the last 20 years. I had to travel all the way here to be able to work with a religious exemption. So I'm really, really, really listening. And I'm really, really, really anxious to know past what we study and see what is placed in actuality. You see, I am the only Asiatic that works in surgery. And I've been working in surgery about 23 years. And there is no more tears to cry because I've sat there by the ocean all day long, very angry that we don't have something that protects us. I told the HR people that you eliminate me from a surgical job in which I've been doing. You don't give me the right to know what I've done right or wrong. You merely tell me you're canceling my contract, but you don't have to substantiate it. And nobody's standing with me to argue or defend what it is that has happened to me. So I'm listening to you tonight, and I'm very, very anxious to know what has been, can be put into place. Because as I spoke to them and said, I have a right to survival. I have a right to work. And I have a right to know if I've broken any rules and any laws. And just merely telling me to give you my pager, give you my ID, clean out my locker is not good enough when it comes to a person who's in a profession that I am. So I would tell you that this is about the 6th time that I've gone to location, and it's nobody but me. When I'm telling you, I work in surgery, can be in there and not a damn person say anything to me for a whole hour, or I'm in a whole nother room. The room is talking. When I walk in the room, all these freaking troglodytes shut down and don't say nothing until I leave the room.
Pecola. You got to keep it short. Pecola.
I did.
You already, Pecola. Let's Pecola. Let him ask Pecola. Hold on. Pecola. All right, you already asked the question. Shem answered it before you got on. Shem answered your question before you got on. So what all Shem will be doing is repeating what he said. So in order for Shem to answer your question, he's going to be repeating what he said, which is fine. All right. And so what Shem's going to talk about is government structure. Then Shem answers your question, he's going to talk government structure. You're talking on a national scale and international scale to address the issues for the millions of our people. All right, so go ahead, Shem.
Yes. See, every time whether you work for a 501c or for-profit corporation, a company or organization, always they give you a Homeland Security form, right, for taxes and tell you who you are, what country you're from, your status. See, when you get a job, once you go on the record that you are a legal alien, a national or foreign government that got a treaty in the United States, your status changed. Now, when they do something, violate something, the council calls them up. The council comes and says, we got a problem here. This is a national. You discriminate against a national, violation of the treaty. Now, what happened is they can't go to federal court, state court. They have to go to the council jurisdiction. It's over now. So now the council step and say, okay, you got a claim against her. You want an ID. You're going to take her money. She wants to sue you. She filed a suit in the council jurisdiction. I have to hear that suit. You got to come and say, well, who's your witness? Was she filed? See, once the council step in, you got due process of law now. You protect it under treaty. That's what we haven't had. We have a Moors, they're going to have Moors, but go to the protection of the state. Therefore, they go to protection of the state. They can go by the rules of the state. All the rules is the state passed by legislators, statutes, acts, codes, and court decisions. The Moors not protected by the treaty or international law. Because when the council come in, the council say, well, it's a violation of the trade convention, the labor and trade treaty the United States signed and ratified. Under labor and trade treaty, so you can't discriminate against somebody. Now he brings in international law. Now the corporation can be sued. They got a choice: be sued. Now they can be prosecuted because that's a violation of the law discriminating. So now all the discriminating codes, federal codes and statutes, and state statutes say they can go to jail for that. Remember, the council comes in. Remember, the United States have signed and ratified a lot of declarations and conventions and treaties on labor law, economics, and all kinds of stuff. Our council is a juror. He reads that. When he comes, the only thing in law here today is the agreement right here called international labor laws. President signed on what date, this date, Congress can consent to it on this date. It's the law. This is all we're going to apply here for adjustment. The council comes and says you're discriminating, a judgment against you. Boom. Once that judgment is hit, they can't go in the state court or federal court to overturn that council judgment because he got a right to that under international law. And on the state and federal statutes, he got a right to that. That's called evidence. It's only legal evidence, prima facie evidence that any court can consider. Is that council still? We haven't had that. See, what happened is none of us had that. Let's not be naive. Let's not play with each other. We never had a Moorish government or a leader, head of a state or head of a national government, just sat down the Imperial Parliament Council of all the states representatives and passed legislation on Moors' behalf and said, we're going to force this. And that they passed it. They sent a resolution over to the United States that on this such and such day, the Moorish government enacted this into law. Now, what happens? That's the law of the United States too. And she's the law of the British Dominion first because the British, France, and Spain's the original sovereigns. So, Bacola, we just gotta get everything together so we have a council to represent you. I'm explaining something to you. When I say international, yes, there's international labor laws, the conventions and declarations the United States signed. President signed and Congress ratified. That declaration is the law of the land. It's a self-executed agreement. It's not called as a treaty, it's an agreement the United States entered into. Now, when they violate that labor law, it applies to nationals in foreign countries. Yes, it does. Even if it protects nationals of their own government discriminate against them, that protects the nationals on land. So protect the nationals on land, protect internationally a nation to a treaty. So that's what has to be done. When I have the council comes and file a complaint against them and summons them to come to the council court. See, this is all the stuff straightened up when we get our house in order. Like Abdullah, right? A lot of this now is once you get educated, once the trumpet is blown and whistle blow, that means in school when there's an emergency in the country, they let off a siren. Before they let off the siren, they give what you call a wavelength, a hearing saying on such a time you hear the siren. It's emergency, a national emergency. And the siren go off for curfews or something else. The siren go, everybody got knowledge now that it's emergency or the curfew law. Same way among us, the trumpet is being blown now. The whistle is being blown. What we have to do now is get our house in order. We have to help ourselves. So once we do that, Bacola, that'll stop. Right now, we're in a situation we got to set ourselves up so you can be protected. This won't happen to you. You understand?
So we got it's 8:24. We're gonna move on. We'll move on with the screen, Terrence. This was really good.
Coming on up.
All right. This is we dealt with that. Why is the council important? And we can pass. I don't see this.
Let me know when to stop.
All right. Code of Federal Regulations, we dealt with that. Consular notification. Yes, we can go on. Yeah, case with the funds invested. Yes, go ahead, move on, continue. We've dealt with that. Consular notification. Yeah, United States Human Bill of Rights, we dealt with that. It was evident, and Shem even reviewed a lot of that when he
This is where we left off.
earlier during this class.
Okay.
I don't see it. Where did it go?
I don't know. Amanda, do you remember where you left off? Because I think she was reading.
This was, I think, where we left off last week.
Okay.
This is where we left off, Amanda?
Yeah.
So you can, all right. So if you read this.
Note.
All right, okay. You want to read it? You like to read it?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. Note, the Moors must facilitate the recovery of lost Moorish sovereignty, statehood, and secession of
Put your
state.
phone on mute, please. Put your phone on mute. That's very distracting.
Okay, note, the Moors must facilitate the recovery of lost Moorish sovereignty, statehood, and secession of state, and re-enter the international community of nations as an old and original state under the principle of reversion to sovereignty, as well as reestablish diplomacy and treaty relations with the treaty kingdoms and nations. Note, the Moroccan Empire has been dismembered, disintegrated, collapsed due to conquest by the Kingdom of Spain, Kingdom of France, Kingdom of Portugal, Kingdom of England, Great Britain, Kingdom of Sweden, and the Dutch Republic. Note, not only are the native Moors indigenous to the land, but the Moors also belong to the Moroccan Empire by consanguinity, national origin and descent. Moors and Masonry Part 2, the power of Moorish treaties and the recovery of lost Moorish sovereignty, analyzes the diplomatic and treaty relations between the Moroccan Empire and the United States from 1777 to 1815 in the context of the extensive diplomatic and treaty relations, military engagements, captivity, ransom payments, annual tribute payments that the Moroccan Empire engaged with France, England and Great Britain, the Netherlands, Dutch Republic, Sweden, Spain, Portugal, Denmark, Sardinia, Belgium, and the United States during the 1600s, 1700s, and 1800s. The book also examines the period of over 100 years of Moors attempting to recover lost Moorish sovereignty and to bring the Moroccan Empire out of her 200-year period of temporary political extinction, disintegration, and collapse due to European conquest and colonization by using the United States Constitution and laws, United States departments and agencies, and United States courts. The reader will come to learn that this approach is erroneous, a misdirection, and not in harmony with the principles of the law of nations, public international law, with regards to the recovery of lost Moorish sovereignty, the restoration of Moorish statehood, secession or change of sovereignty, and re-entering the international community of nations as an old and original state under the principles of reversion to sovereignty and post-millennium, restoration of Moorish territorial sovereignty, Moorish personality of law, and Moorish state responsibility, as well as reestablishment of diplomatic and treaty relations with European nations with which the Moroccan Empire negotiated treaties between the 1500s and 1800s, the reinforcement of Moorish capitulation, extraterritorial consular jurisdiction vested in the Moorish bilateral treaties. These political processes, in accordance with the principles of the law of nations and public international law, and recovery of a state's lost sovereignty due to European colonization and conquest, would be raising the Moorish flag politically. The Moorish flag has not been raised politically by the Moors, who are autochthonous, native, original, indigenous, and aboriginal to the lands of Turtle Island, Moroccan Empire, known to the world as North America, South America, Central America, and the adjoining islands. The act of the native Moors physically raising the Moorish flag does not constitute a political raising of the Moorish flag. Let's bring the Moroccan Empire out of her 200-year period of political extinction, disintegration, and collapse. Let's raise our Moorish flag politically once again. Moorish treaties in England. Securing freedom for English trade and exemption from slavery for English subjects, protection against Moorish captivity, English Great Britain paying annual tribute to the Moroccan Empire, English colonial ships sailed under the protection of English-British treaties with the Moroccan Empire, from the end of the Moorish Empire and rulership in Europe, Treaty of Granada, November 25th, 1491, to the Moorish trade and protection treaties and the expansion of the European trade and world trade and commerce. From the gradual decline of Moorish sea power and trade, 1500 to 1800, to the expansion of European power and domination in trade and commerce. From the temporary political extinction, disintegration, collapse of the Moroccan Empire, to the facilitation of the process of recovery of lost Moorish sovereignty. National sovereignty and statehood in contemporary international law, the law of nations in world history, international law analysis and application. State failure, collapse or disintegration, lack of effective government, loss of international legal personality of a state, loss of personality of law, loss of state responsibility, reversion to sovereignty, states that lost their sovereignty to a colonial power and then regained political independence, state responsibility, legal conditions for statehood. How has current international law dealt with the creation, continuity, and extinction of states? The juridical consequences that the lack of effective government create on their condition of states and their international legal personality have to be identified and analyzed. statehood of collapsed or disintegrated states, loss of effective control that the government exercises over the population and territory of the state, disintegration of governmental structures, social organization of society, what international law considers the government of the state, a legal condition for statehood, addressing misconceptions concerning the recovery of lost Moorish sovereignty, reversion to sovereignty and post-limini, attempting to recover lost Moorish sovereignty and to bring the Moroccan Empire out of her 200-year period of temporary political extinction, disintegration and collapse, the United States Constitution and laws, United States departments and agencies, and United States courts. Principles of international law should have a sound historical basis. Not only the immediate pre-independence phase of a country's past, but also the period of independence and sovereignty prior to colonial rule might be relevant in determining the principles applicable in respect to state secession.
All right, let me stop you there. All right, good. All right, so those are principles in international law that really deals with statehood, recovery of lost sovereignty, reversion to sovereignty. So we have to come to understand these principles, and this is where we have a great plan. There's a great plan in place to recover our lost Moorish sovereignty. Shem Malachi base plan, all right, coupled with what we're working with Brother Al-Kanan, all right? We're going to merge that. We're going to merge that. We're going to merge both, all right? So we have, there is a solid plan with strategic planning and logistics. We have connections about over 30 Moorish body politics in different parts of the country, study groups, all right? We have about 100 people have attended this class over the past 3 months. Over 100 people have attended this class. We've been teaching this for 3.5 months. This is a new Zoom platform, though it's the same class. Over 100 people, all right, have attended. So there are many people who have body politics, and they're learning and growing in development. And so there is a solid plan. As I said, this is easier. I have 29 years of observation of seeing the individual. There has not been sustained growth. I was asked 2 weeks ago. I was on Clubhouse for the first time with Brother DJ. And it was live on Clubhouse. And I was asked, DJ had made a comment that there has been a lot of growth in this movement, as far as a lot of people getting involved in the movement. I said, and then he said more so than the past. And I disagree with him. There was a lot of people involved then, over 110 people. 110 people a week attended the classes in New York and Harlem. 110 people a week, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012. 110 a week. For 12 years, from 2006 to 2018, classes were going on in New York. We had classes in Philadelphia, classes in Maryland. And what I saw was those numbers decline. I saw turnstiles. I didn't see sustained growth. And I would scratch my head and ponder and wonder and, what's going on? When you don't have a political structure, and we had people with skills, mad skills. People with mad skills, professional people, you name it. So we didn't lack that. But what was lacking a facilitation of a national Moorish political structure. So when I reconnected with Shem, I've known Shem for almost 20 years. When I reconnected with Shem outside his mother's house, we talked for 2 hours, April 2019. And I recall asking Shem several times in Dunkin' Donuts down the street from the house. I said, Shem, what are we going to do differently? What are we going to do differently? What are we going to do differently? You know, Shem, we've been doing this. We were doing X, Y, and Z. What are we going to do differently? Well, I heard a different tone. Well, this is the difference. This is what we're doing differently. As I wrote in the Moors and Main Street book summary, for a period of over 100 years, Moors have been attempting to recover lost Moorish sovereignty using the United States Constitution, United States laws, United States courts, United States departments, United States agencies. Those are erroneous acts, not in harmony with the recovery of lost sovereignty when it comes to international law. When a nation is collapsed due to war, conquest, when a nation becomes this collapsed, subjugated, how does she recover her lost sovereignty? Let's go to international law. Does it recover the lost sovereignty by going to the court, by going to the agencies of the one that one put them in subjugation? All right. How would the native people, what do the native people of Hawaii need to do to restore the kingdom, the kingdom of Hawaii? Restore or establish a Hawaiian republic exercising Hawaiian sovereignty. Do they need to do, all right, what's going on in Hawaii for the past 60 years, 60 to 80 years? You got a body of people who are like us. There's a body of native Hawaiian who think like us, to recover lost Moorish sovereignty, to restore that. And there's a body who are seeking to have federal recognition by the United States. The United States conquered them. They're seeking to have federal recognition, like the quote unquote Indians, to the one who conquered them. So there's that. That's why it's been taking so long, because they got that beating up, that friction between them. There's two different bodies, two different mindsets. Now, I understand it. I mean, no one living today has experienced Hawaiian sovereignty. No one living today in Hawaii has experienced Hawaiian sovereignty. It's been 129 years. They haven't seen it. They don't even know what it looks like. They got a statue of the queen, a statue. I mean, they got a statue of the queen, but they don't know what it looks like. They never experienced it. So they've been getting some aid from their conqueror, the United States. Their conqueror, the United States, has been giving aid, and they have children, and that's all they know. They didn't experience more Hawaiian sovereignty. So what do they need to do? They need to assemble they need to do what we're doing. They need to do what we're facilitating. They got to come this way. I mean, they have to do what we're facilitating. Not go to the United States. Not just be satisfied with federal recognition from the United States. They conquered you. So once that happens, then you're gonna need a passport to go Hawaii. Once the native people of Hawaii recovered, lost Hawaiian sovereignty, you're gonna need a passport to go Hawaii. All right. So I like to talk to a few of them, you know, to help them along. All right. Any questions on to what I said? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Thank you. That's all I need. I just need somebody. I just needed to hear.
I can hear you.
All right, good. All right. So any questions?
Let's jump on in all at one time.
Because there was a lot. There's a lot there because you're talking about international law concepts, and they're all beginning to state responsibility. We have to recover, where we are dealing with state responsibility, statehood. So these are principles of international law. And I said it's not a lot, it's that we've been misdirected. If we've been studying this for the past 10 years or 20 years, I mean, this would have been old hat. We're not idiots. We're not stupid. We're not dumb. We just been misguided. So we put our time, our studying, our resources into misdirection. That's all that is. Now we're putting our time and resources into studying international law and treaties and consular notification and extraterritoriality, consular jurisdiction / capitulatory jurisdiction. I mean, we're putting our time and resources, that's all it is, in getting international law books and studying, that's all that is. I mean, we've done this for 20 years. This has been old hat. All right, Sheehan. Or who else? Or is it Sheehan? Who else says it? And up first, Sheehan.
Yes, a piece. I just wanted to ask. So, is Hawaiian sovereignty Moorish sovereignty, or if they operate as a kingdom, it's would be a separate political structure apart from us? Is that the way the kingdom works?
Yeah, it was a separate political structure. It was a whole Hawaiian. It was a Hawaiian kingdom.
Okay, that's what I want. That's what I need to know.
I was just saying for them to get. I would like to get with them to educate them.
There are other questions in the chat.
Yes.
If you would like to present those for those who are asking the questions in the chat.
Yes, please.
Please ask your questions. And there are good questions in the chat too as well. So
you want to read them or?
No, they can actually ask their questions.
I don't know how's I gotta be able to hear it.
Yeah, they have to speak. It's
all right, speak, y'all. Let's go. Let's speak. Questions? Let's read the question. Somebody. We don't want too much dead space, y'all. We don't want too much dead space.
Yes, can you hear me?
All right. Here we go.
All right, it's Abdullah Hakim. So on the way to establishing our Moorish national sovereignty, so would you advise us those on the local level to go ahead and get the ball rolling using our treaty rights and protections as ecclesiastical bodies?
All right, you got to rephrase your question. Your question is colorable. All right, let me explain. I'm explaining. So I can't answer your question the way you posed it. Your question is colorable. It's colorable because you said on our way to establish our Moorish sovereignty. We're not establishing Moorish sovereignty. It's called the recovery of lost sovereignty. we're going to be exercising the same Moorish sovereignty exercised by the emirs and caliphs in 700, 800, 900, 1000, 1100, 1200, 1300, 1400 in Phoenicia, modern day Europe, Portugal, all right, Portugal, Peninsula, parts of France, all right, Spain, all right, or so then you have the continuation of the exercise of Moorish sovereignties by the emperors in the 15, 16, 17, 1800s. So your question, as we recover, as we facilitate the recovery of our lost Moorish sovereignty. Go ahead. Let's start there. As we facilitate the recovery of our lost Moorish sovereignty. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's important that I do that.
Should we go ahead?
You know, people, we got to provide concepts.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah. So on local levels, should we go as we're to implement our treaty protections and treaty rights? Should we be implementing or acting with ecclesiastical bodies or as an ecclesiastical body in our local provinces, territories?
Let me answer. There are on Moorish Moroccan Post Media YouTube page, there's 12 Moorish body politic formation classes. We also have the 7 steps, which will we're going to post that next week or some week. We'll get it to y'all. There's 7 steps to forming a Moorish body politic. All right. Let me first give them how to form a Moorish body politic, because there's those who have not gone through those classes. This is going to be out. This is going to be sent out to thousands of people. All right. So there's on Moroccan Post Media YouTube page, which is be uploaded tonight, hour after the class. There are 12 Moorish body politic formation classes. Those classes were live from end of March of 2021 to, I think, the September 2021. Right? And then I said there's 7 steps. Darian, I sent those to you. Now, Darian is not on. Right? So we can we'll make sure people get that. All right. So that's how to that's important to have knowledge on how to do it. All right. Let me continue. Hakeem, those others who are listening. There is, I said to mention, we're coordinating with Brother El-Kanan and his connections he has with Masons in Eastern Stars. Shem Malachi Bey has a plan of a formation of a Moorish intergovernmental alliance, whereby the heads of the various will be elected by their body politics. All right, we're merging that. We're merging. All right, and there will come we will all come under the Moorish intergovernmental alliance. We're going to have charts. We're going to have flow charts, and they're going to have flow charts of all the forms and treaties and stuff. I'm putting together flow charts. All right, we're going to have a flow chart with that. So this hang with us. But I just wanted to let you know that the political structure is there, and this is part of facilitating the political structure as we began the educational process 3.5 years ago in a facilitation process. All right, this is just a continuation. This class, the Moorish Moroccan Post class, history, law, and government class, is a continuation of the facilitation of this process. All right, I've also reached out. We have Sister Sharon, Sister Yasharan, Sister Yasharan, that will be on the Moroccan Post on Come TV this Sunday, right? I reached out to Brother Alim. Brother Alim will be on the Moroccan Post on Come TV the second Sunday in November. I reached out to Brother Nakeem of the Great Seal. He'll be on Moroccan Post on Come TV the second Sunday in November. Brother Noble Jubei of he has a body politic, the Kingdom of Heaven. He's going to be teaching astrology on the Moroccan Post on Come TV the second Sunday in October. I'm trying to get Michael, yours truly, your brother here, Counsel Michael. I'm waiting for him to give me the decision. All right, to have him the second Sunday in September. So I'm waiting for Michael. So if Michael can't do that, I'll see if Michael can do this first Sunday in October. Then we have Mansa and Elamar will be back by popular demand. The first Sunday in December. We have a combined number of over 3,000, a combined number over 3,000 viewers or followers. These are people I've known for years. I'm reaching out to all of them. El Kanan got big time connections. We are serious. We are serious. Nicola, you hear me? We are serious. We are serious. We are serious. We're going to make this happen. We need your help. When we ring the bell, ding, are you going to stand up? Are you going to stand up when we ring the bell? So we're going to ring the bell. Are you going to stand up, or are you going to look at your watch and I'm too busy, I got this to do, that, whatever, this to do, that. We're going to ring the bell. Are you going to stand up? The bell is going to be rung. Are you going to stand up? We got a plan. We're all part of it. Any other questions? And that's answering Brother Hakeem's question in a broad and narrow sense. Any other questions? But
Thank you, Amanda, for posting that in the chat for the YouTube page.
You're welcome.
Shem will be leaving us in 5 minutes, so where's Shem? Is Shem still with us? He's left us.
Oh, Shem dipped.
Oh, he's left. I thought he's going to leave us at 9 o'clock. So Mike and I'll take over.
Let's see. Is Shem there?
So Mike and I'll take over to pose your questions to Mike and me. Mike and I'll take over. All right.
Whoever asked that question about the case, it was his name is you want to know the year. The defendant's name was Jose Ernesto Medellin. So Jose Ernesto Medellin, you could Google that, Jose Ernesto Medellin versus Texas.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother. I was trying to find that case, trying to find that case.
Yeah, I seen this like a Michelin or McMillan, somebody put in there. It was his name is Medellin. He was a Mexican. Well, he's a Moor. He's not a Mexican.
Hey, could you spell that for me?
Medellin is M-E-D. Let me see so I can just so I'm accurate. M-E-D-E-L-L-I-N. So like Medellin, M-E-D-E-L-L-I-N versus Texas. And that case was in the early 90s, I believe.
Appreciate it. Gratitude.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right. Do we have any, before we continue, you have any questions? Mike, like I said, Mike, you pose your questions to Mike and me. All right. Terrence, you want to continue?
Sure.
Amanda?
Yes. Enforcing Moorish treaties through Moorish government structure. See the free 12 Moorish body politic formation classes on Moroccan Post Media YouTube page. What would back the Moors is a Moorish government structure, a collective body of people exercising self-determination. The Moors' self-determination is the inherited collective power of the native Moors and not in a foreign nation. The United States allows the native Moors to expatriate themselves. This means that the United States allows the native Moors to not seek the protection of the Moorish treaties and Moorish sovereignty. When the Moors go to the United States federal courts to adjudicate a matter, the Moors change their political status. This does not mean that the Moors are changing their nationality, consanguinity, descent, ancestry, national origin, genealogy, parentage, pedigree, or lineage. Though one proclaims to be a Moor, but to the United States judge, the Moor who makes this claim is not a Moor in the sense of having the protection of his or her Moorish country, Moorish national sovereignty, Moorish government, Moorish foreign government officials, Moorish consuls and Moorish ambassadors, and Moorish flag. The United States federal judges and states judges of the various states in the Union of the United States are only looking at the native Moor's political status as a citizen of the United States and a resident of one of the states in the Union of the United States. The United States federal judges and the various state judges of the states in the Union of the United States know that only a citizen of the United States and a resident of one of the states in the Union of the United States can ask the judge to speak on a matter in a United States federal court or the states courts of the Union of the United States, unless in treaty cases that do not have a capitulatory extraterritorial consular jurisdiction clause, such as Hausenstein versus Lynham, Ware versus Hilton, or Society versus New Haven, etc. What happens when either a United States federal judge or a state judge adjudicates a case involving a Moor? And how do Moors expatriate themselves out of Morocco? When either a United States federal judge or a state judge hears a case involving a Moor, this constitutes a change in the Moor's political status because the case is being heard by a foreign judicial officer who is an officer not authorized by the treaty. That is, a United States federal judge or state judge of one of the states in the Union is not authorized by the treaties between the Moroccan Empire and the United States to hear cases that involve a Moor. Only the Moorish consul is authorized by the treaties between the Moroccan Empire and the United States to hear offenses and disputes involving a Moor when a Moor is a defendant in the case.
All right, let me stop you there. This is Shem Malachi Bey. Those are Shem Malachi Bey's words. All right, I listened to the class 2 weeks ago. And those are Shem Malachi Bey. So you heard from Shem Malachi Bey again, all right? And then I just tweaked a little thing, add stuff here and there, but mostly that's Shem Malachi Bey. All right, so we review that, and this is a major concept. So I want Mike to speak to this as well, right? This is a major concept, so let's spend some time on this. I've been observing for 29 years, because we must understand that this is important of government structure. This is why the Spain and France, the Spanish crown and British crown and the Kingdom of the Dutch Republic, and this is why they dismantled our Moorish government so that they can subjugate us. You don't have the mother is in the hospital on life support She's been in a coma for over 200 years. And her children been subjugated by Spain and Portugal and France and the Netherlands, England/Great Britain, and a child of Great Britain, the United States. We've been subjugated for over 200 years on our own land by these foreign occupying powers. And these foreign occupying powers have extended their territorial jurisdiction on our land and have set up survey maps and had wars among each other and have transferred through land boundary cession treaties land to one occupying sovereign power to another occupying sovereign power, i.e. in 1763, France ceded large portion of Moorish land to Great Britain in the 1763 peace treaty between Great Britain and United States, Great Britain and France. When you see maps, if you Google, that's not the name of the land. That this is your end. That's not those aren't names of lands. If you Google right now, world map, those aren't names of lands. Please, we did this on TV, Moroccan Post on TV. What was it called, Terrence? Part 1, 2, and 3. Part 1, 2, and 3.
Wasn't it the
Recovery of Lost Moorish Sovereignty?
Yes,
Part 1, 2, and 3. Moroccan Post on TV. Those are not when you go, if you Google a world map and say, well, that is not that. Those are not names of lands. Those states are exercising their territorial sovereignty over that geography, because the territorial sovereignty is what? Through wars, through centuries of wars, it just changes hands. Through centuries of wars. All right, changes hands. So one occupying sovereign takes over, then another occupying takes over. That's all. So you say, well, that's the land. That's not the name of the land. That's just that state that's exercising her territorial sovereignty. Or you would have a kingdom that will expand their territorial sovereignty and dominion in different parts. That's all that is. We got to be aware, conscious of this. The Treaty of Lausanne, like 1923, that dismembered the Ottoman dynasty empire. In fact, that treaty's up next year. So we have to be aware of these concepts. So the political status. Yes, we are Moors. We're Moors. That doesn't change. But your political status will change when we go into the courts. This is why we're teaching consular notification, Moorish government structure, power of Moorish consul. Can we back this up, Terrence? I want Amanda to reread, go to read certain parts of this.
Sure.
And then I want Mike to speak to it.
Okay. Let me know where you want me to.
Just back it up. I don't want to rush past this. Just go back to the top, the top of this section. All right, is that? Yeah, it's and we're gonna I'm gonna have her read. I'm gonna stop and have Mike speak to it.
Okay, is it this
right,
right?
Go ahead. Yeah, right there. Go ahead, Amanda.
Okay, let me put the top. There we go.
Well,
Start with the heading.
okay. Enforcing Moorish treaties through Moorish government structure. See the free 12 Moorish body politic formation classes on the Moroccan Post Media YouTube page. What would back the Moors is a Moorish government structure, a collective body of people exercising self-determination. The Moors' self-determination is the inherited collective power of the native Moors and not in a foreign nation. The United States allows the native Moors to expatriate themselves. This means that the United States allows the native Moors not to seek the protection of the Moorish treaties and Moorish sovereignty. When the Moors go to the United States federal courts to adjudicate a matter, the Moors change their political status. This does not mean that the Moors are changing their nationality, consanguinity, descent, ancestry, national origin, genealogy, parentage, pedigree, or lineage. Though one proclaims to be a Moor, but to the United States judge, the Moor who makes this claim is not a Moor in the sense of having the protection of his or her Moorish country, Moorish national sovereignty, Moorish government, Moorish federal government officials, Moorish consuls and Moorish ambassadors, and Moorish flag. The United States federal judges.
Stop there. Stop there. Okay. Stop there, Amanda. Stop there. All right, Michael.
Yeah. So one of the things that really I want to kind of give, I guess my inspiration, other than my really experiences, dealing with the court system and dealing with the United States courts and, officials, et cetera. I used to say to myself, because it was really kind of, I don't want to say it was kind of like the cliche to really have the discussion, or maybe it was I should say it was more taboo, for lack of better words, to really have the conversation and discussion about nationality being a Moor, because, I used to always ask questions, and I was sometimes, considered a weirdo for asking questions to other Moors. But I used to say to other Moors often, I used to say, this is at work, this was in the school setting, no matter, just whatever we're doing on me, I would say, you ever notice how, our people, quote unquote, Black African Americans, whatever, colors, and you ever notice how there's like 6 or 7 different brands that we're called on a regular basis, but anybody else, is considered what they are. For example, and I used to give examples like, when you come across a European, you ask them what they are. 9 out of 10 times they're going to tell you, oh, I'm Irish. Oh, I'm Irish Italian. Oh, I'm Italian. I'm this. I'm Greek. I'm German. I'm Swedish, Dutch, whatever the case may be. And whenever I would ask that question, I would leave people, I guess in awe. No one ever had a response for that, but that was kind of like, for me, it irked me. It irked me because, for much of my life, I was a very inquisitive person. And I think a lot of my, inquisitiveness is really attributed to a lot of where I ended up, even in the situations that I was in, and ultimately to get where I'm at here. But, that was my inspiration. I wanted to share that because I never understood it at the time. Before I knew, I found out I was a Moor and, and stuff like that. And just to be, just think of it itself, look at the discrepancy in itself, to have to find out who you are. And, as it relates to, your nationality and all these different things, you have these, Declaration of Human Rights. You have the Declaration of Rights of Indigenous Peoples that, the United States had just signed on a couple of years back. They said everyone has a right to a nationality. But it seems that was deprived from the Moors. Well, it is what it is. Is this no one can refute that the Moors were, deprived, or, the people labeled Black, Negro, colored, Puerto Rican, Dominican, Colombian, whatever the case may be, we were deprived of having a right to a nationality. And although the United States has signed and ratified onto both these international multilateral treaty documents, they're still propagating that. Why would they still be? I mean, you go. I mean, you look at the entertainment. You look at the entertainment. You go to Netflix. You go to Tubi. You go to Hulu. They have a section, Black cinema. What the hell is Black cinema? Black is an adjective, right? Last time we checked, an adjective is something that describes a thing, right? But the thing that, like I said before we start even addressing the issue of nationality, what in the world is wrong with our people as Moors accepting to be so? I mean, there should be more confusion. At what point was somebody going to actually raise that red flag and say, "Hey, well, which one? Well, which one am I, Bob? Am I African American? Am I colored? Am I Negro? Am I black? Which one am I brown?" At what point were Moors or are Moors going to say to themselves, "Well, if Rebecca over there is Irish or Johnny over there is Portuguese, and then what am I?" Well, I mean, okay, well, it's possible I might be Portuguese, I might be Italian. I'm obviously heavily dark, but I got to be. How am I black? How is a person white? When you look at most European people, they're not white. They may be a little bit maybe pink or reddish. They may have some type of reddish or pink pigmentation, but what is that? And that has to be really, 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 I think, the vocal point that everyone has to really, really, really focus on more than anything else, because that's how you get to the unearthing or excavating of the secrets that was, pretty much you pry them out of the dark and you really, really start to address the elephant in the room. And that was a large contribution. That issue, I dealt with that dilemma for a long time. And I felt awkward. I never had a disposition towards European people for that. To be honest with you, I really didn't have any bad experience with them, honestly, until I actually started, practicing this whole law stuff and doing this legal thing. And from there, I really got a lot of shade from them. And I didn't understand it at the time, but I thought it was a special interest as opposed to, me being, my color or anything. I think it was more of a secrecy thing that they was trying to contain and, keep, reveal, not to keep unrevealed, as opposed to just, doing things to me, because, I'm black, I'm a Negro, or I'm a colored or something. But, it really, really, really astonishes me, and I'm not going to be critical here or and criticize my people, but I think this is a fundamental conversation that we need to have, especially moving forward, and as we look at the realization of really how these things have really been holding us back more than anything else. And that's really, we seem to gravitate and excel in anything when it comes to entertainment. Whenever it comes to, it really catches our eyes and attention, and we can really grasp these different things and do it very, very well. But a simple thing like, hey, black, I'm black, or I'm African American, or I'm like, what politician, what minister, what city councilman, what person, and it's just funny to me. You got these people. I'm not going to say no names because I don't want to criticize anyone who potentially knows someone or maybe the status quo for them. But you got these people with PhDs and degrees and stuff like that, and they perpetuate and propagating black. Yeah, I'm African American. I mean, come on, man. Come on, woman. I mean, what are we?
Brother Michael, Brother Michael.
Yes.
Brother Michael, we want to speak to what's been read. Let's speak to what.
Yes, I was going to get there, brother. I was going to get there.
Conscious Moors. This is conscious Moors. Sorry, all right. What's been read applies only to conscious Moors. There's conscious Moors, those who know they're Moors, who do this. There's conscious Moors who know they're Moors, thinking that their political status doesn't change. Remember, conscious Moor has been taught that we're part and parcel of this said government. Conscious Moor has been taught that we, the people of the United States, are the Moors. All right. So conscious Moors have been taught that going into United States courts, they have been, this is, like I said, they have been taught this. This is talk about expatriation, all right, the changing of their political status. It does change their political status, not their nationality, consequently, but it changes their political status, all right, because the Moorish treaties does not give United States courts power to hear Moorish cases, to hear the trial Moor. The Moorish treaties do not do that. We're going to a foreign court. The Moorish treaty does not give a United States federal judge or state judge that authority. It only vests that power, delegates that power through treaty to a Moorish consul. So it's an act of expatriation by expression.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We thought this only applies to conscious those who know they're Moors.
Right.
This explanation is only with those who know they're Moors.
Right. Yeah. I would just, Professor, forgive me. I just felt compelled to just share that because I was just kind of speaking for a whole. I felt like dealing. No, yeah. I'm gonna get right back to. Let me just say these a few words, and let me get right to that. Address what was read. I just wanted to, for the audience sake, to really to really see the leveling up of our people, the potential to level up just from what's right in front of our face. If our people would have questioned for the past 30 or 40 years, okay, why do I get these titles and stuff? What is the secret behind it? Which I think that would be very apparent. I questioned it. Like I said, I questioned that before I even knew I was a Moor. Why hasn't anybody else? Now I'm going to get to the point.
Get to what was
now
read.
Get to what's read. Yeah. Right. So, okay. So basically, it speaks for itself. We as Moors haven't pretty much been through any procedures where we've been pretty much naturalized in the United States, nor do we come in through immigration. There's no proof of that. However, Professor's right. We expatriation. This is how we're doing, through lack of a Moorish consul, lack of Moorish ambassadors, lack of Moorish officials, to come in the defense of their nationals. We haven't had that, probably in excess of 200 plus years. And really things started to dwindle post Lincoln's assassination. This is when pretty much all these different enactments and laws and stuff started really starting to be, passed and, really broadened and really pushed down our throats. And we took on these brands and stuff like that we took on, and a lot of the mistreatment because we was falling out of our protection. And we became ultimately, exiled in our own land. And this is the status quo today. So it's very important that, what we're doing as Professor Shem and Professor Abdullah says, we really have to come together, assemble together, and really take this seriously and make whatever sacrifices, really have to take the sacrifices. Everyone is taking advantage of these Wednesday classes, but, the study dean has to be there. The ability to, just want to have it, it's got to be there, just to make that change so that we can spark, a new generation for our future children and posterity. So they don't have to continue to just, be that rat on a pinwheel, because that's really what it is. I just addressed, a concern of mine, as a youngin', but there's so many different things. Like we like paying, why are we paying so many taxes? Well, when you do things like that, when you pretty much expatriate yourself, that's what happens. You got, there's an adhesion contract on everything that you do, from the water that you drink, and that's a natural element. You got to pay for water. You got to pay for light. You got to pay for heat. You got to pay tax. You got to pay an excise tax on that, a surcharge fee on that. Everything that you could think of, you got to pay for in your own land. And we can make a change to that by just coming together and speaking up, because actually the very treaties that we are utilizing as our protection, that has been agreed to by the European powers even, they actually speak against these things. We're supposed to be granted tax communities while in the British dominions. As you already know, we're supposed to be handling our own criminal civil matter affairs as a government. We're not supposed to be in these courtrooms, as the treaties illustrate. We are just really, we're just, holding on to, this, misconcepts, and just really being in derision of one another. That's the other thing, being in derision of one another, and it's really not helping us. The Europeans managed to come together in spite of whatever it is that they was fighting. They got several treaties, as the professor alluded to as well. Just trading Moroccan soil, trading different parts of Moroccan soil like it's nothing. Total disregard for the Aboriginal people, Native people. But we could speak up and make a change. But we all know change is gonna come in numbers, and we need everyone's help and everyone to contribute in any way possible. But the first thing we need to do is to start. We need to get the right knowledge, and we need to after that immediately we have to come together on one page and agree, to start building these body of politics. A lot of questions are being asked about, how to, what needs to be done. Does a ecclesiastical state have to be done, or can you create a social, social trust or whatever? Well, you can create either or. However, you just have to make sure it's done in government structure, because you can't enforce nothing without that. I've had a lot of success, in the past, because I pretty much adopted the principles that, Professor Shem has taught us, taking the classes and stuff, and they seem to work. But then now these are things that I can actually go back and validate, because, I'm operating from a government structure. I don't come, like I used to be in the past as an individual, claiming this, getting emotional, and then, trying to cause controversy in the court and stuff like that. And now, I'm compromising their integrity and all kind of secrecy they got going on. Because actually, to be honest with you, they're a foreign agency, and as a foreign agency, what they got is none of my concern. As long as I'm able to assert my protections that honor and protect me pursuant to my nationality, as long as they honor that, that's all I should care about. But if I'm coming in as a Moorish American, oxymoron. I'm coming in as a Moorish American, asserting their constitution, using a foreign nation's constitution as my protection. That's not a progressive move. That's actually counterproductive. And this is why we are where we are.
We have a question on the floor.
Okay.
S. Murray Bay.
Okay.
Yes. My question was, is there a way to proclaim my Moorish Moroccan nationality right now before the Department of State and denounce my U.S. citizenship?
Can you do that? I don't think that you can do that,
because
where you gonna without a nation? What are you gonna renounce it to?
No, I'm claiming my Moorish nationality, my Moorish Moroccan nationality before the Department of State.
Right, but
on the passport, like on the passport.
Well, what society are you a part of, or what governmental structure, what ecclesiastical body?
The Empire State of Morocco. When I'm claiming my nationality according to the Act of Madrid, the Right of Protection of Morocco, Article 15. And I'm stating that I pledge my allegiance to the Empire State of Morocco and to the treaty laws of Morocco, and my nationality was never authorized by the government of Morocco, and my U.S. citizenship was fraudulently placed on me and obtained, and my nationality was placed upon me by conquest. When I do all that before the Department of State, I proclaim my nationality, right? My Moorish Moroccan nationality, and saying I'm not a U.S. citizen. Okay, will that get me to be a Moorish Moroccan foreign national? Will they recognize that?
No,
because I have done that.
No, you have done what? You have done what?
I proclaimed my nationality before the Department of State on my passport application. I said I wasn't a U.S. citizen or a national. I said I'm a Moorish Moroccan, and I used the treaty, Right of Protection, Article 15, and I use 1856 Morocco Great Britain Treaty. You
All right.
know, and they gave me a 5-star passport. Huh?
No, all right. Hold on, brother. Hold on.
Yeah.
Who gave what nation state gave you a passport?
Well, the U.S. Department of State.
All right.
Gave me.
Hold on, brother.
Okay.
You answer this, brother. Just answer. When I ask you a question, just stop. Just answer it and come and answer. We're gonna slow it down. Let's slow it down, brother. I got you. Let's slow it down. All right. So just answer the question, then let's stop.
All right.
All right. So the United States Department of State gave you a passport, which means a Moorish, yes, which means a Moorish government did not. A Moorish government did not give you a passport.
True.
I just want us to analyze.
Yes.
I just want to slow it down and analyze everything you're saying in accordance to the laws of nation. Let's look at the laws of nation, public international law. United States Department of State. You didn't go to a Moorish government. You went to United States Department of State. You went to a body politic of which the Moroccan Empire has treaty for a passport. All right, let's go to sundry free Moors. Means several or diverse. 1790. In 1790, four they call quote unquote ex-slaves or those who were subjugated, purchased their freedom as well as their wives' freedom. After doing that, they went to the legislative body of South Carolina, putting a petition in for a clarification of their legal status. It had been determined that these 8 Moors were subjects to a prince, in this case the emperor, an alliance with the United States. That's the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. Though they refer that alliance means the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. All right, 1786, signed by United States and signed by Muhammad ibn Abdullah and signed by United States and Congress symbol in January 1787 and signed and ratified by United States and Congress symbol in July 1787. All right. So they clarified their legal status. You went to United States Department of you didn't go to a Moorish government. You didn't go to a Moorish agency. You didn't go to an agency that was established through a legislation act of a Moorish government to get a passport. You went to a department that was established through legislation by United States Congress. United States Congress created the United States Department of State through legislation. That's where you went. The passport reads what?
So that I can travel. I mean, we don't have a Moorish passport right now.
Brother, stop, brother.
Right. Yeah.
No, brother.
Right. What country does your passport say?
No. Hold on, Michael. Hold on, because we're not talking about so you can travel. That's not what you said. You said you declare. We're not talking about so you can travel. Let's not put that on the table, because that was not put on the table. We're not talking about the reason why you did it. We're talking about your claim that I declare my Moorish nationality through this process. Stay there. Not put in what so I can travel. Throw that in the trash right now. Put that aside, because that's not what we're analyzing. We're analyzing based on the laws of nation. Does that process is a declaration of Moorish nationality? Does that process that you went through bring you under protection of Moorish sovereignty and the Moorish flag? We're analyzing in the context of the law of nation, not why you did it. We're not talking about why you did it. We have to analyze these principles. Is why these classes, is why we're having these classes, so that people can listen to what you're saying. And they have the principles, not what Abdullah said, they have the principles of the laws of nation to measure what you're saying. We must get to this level of thinking. It's too much so-and-so said, so-and-so said, so-and-so said. We got to kill that. We must eradicate that out. We must eradicate that out of the people. How do you do that? By have education, classes like this, lectures and books and so forth. So that process it's not a Moorish nationality process. That was not done under the legislative act of a Moorish government. That department was created by United States legislation. Why you did it is secondary.
All right, so sometimes you want to look at it in a different light as well. All right, so I declare my Moorish nationality. I want to travel. So I'm going to go to a State Department in China and get a passport secondary so I can travel. So sometimes you have to look at that in a different light as well. You can declare who you are, which, yes, it connects you to the land, right? But look at it in that sense as well, right? I mean, of course, Moors were taught, hey, you send your nationality paperwork and put the United States on notice that I'm a Moor. Actually, a question, do the Chinese do that? Let the United States know that they're Moor. Do the Chinese citizens come here and send off paperwork to 7 or 5 or
No.
10 different? They don't. So even though you do, we're taught certain things, and and they let us by, it does not mean that that's the right way.
No, they didn't know. No, hold on, T. Let's stop with the let us buy. Let's stop. We got to analyze that. You said I don't want to say let us buy in that. No, they didn't let him buy, because remember his claim. Let's go back to the claim. So when you're listening, this is for everybody, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
You have to keep the claim in sight.
Mm-hmm.
When I talk to people, talk to a lot of people, one of the weaknesses in my talking to people that I observed is that they'll make a claim and then they don't support, like they don't keep their claim in sight and they go off. What I do is I keep their claim. I hear the claim and then I'm listening for evidence. I'm listening for how they support their claim. I always keep the claim in mind. You got to keep the claim. So what is his claim? He never mentioned about so he can travel. That was not his claim. His claim is he declared his Moorish nationality. That was his claim. He must keep the claim in sight. And then as S. Murray Bay is explaining, you say, then you analyze that in accordance with the law of nations. You analyze that in accordance with Moorish treaties. does the Moorish treaty, does the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, 1786 and 1836, show me in that one of those treaties where the Emperor of Morocco gave that power to United States in the treaty? Show me the treaty. See, we got to do this. This is important. Show me the treaty.
Question, Brother Abdullah.
Yes.
All right. So the United States is a British colony or territory of Her Majesty's kingdoms. And so I was just looking at the 1856 treaty, and it talks about privileges enjoyed by Her Majesty are also privileges that may be enjoyed by the Sultan's subjects, His Majesty's subjects within the British dominions. And it talks about travel. It talks about personal privileges as well. So I was just curious.
Does it says United States? All right. Let's Let's look at what's right there.
I get what you're saying. United States verbatim. I get that. That's why when I first opened up my statement, I said the United States is a colony of Her Majesty's Kingdom of Britain. It's a colony. So it's under subjugation to the crown. So, but if you look into Article 4 of 1856 General Treaty, it talks about personal privileges.
Yep.
All right. What is his claim? What is his? Once again, we got to keep his claim in mind. His claim is he nationalized that process.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm not saying that can be possible. I don't.
No. We can't talk. No, let's not talk about anything else. Hold on. Let's not talk about anything else. Once again, hold on.
I heard you mention travel, so that's why I interjected.
No. I didn't know he mentioned travel. He said his reason. That was not part of his claim. No. I said throw that in the trash. Let's throw that in his trash. That was his reason for doing it. We throw that in the trash. That's not part of his claim. So we throw the travel in the trash. We have to first analyze his claim. He brought in his reason for doing it, which is not part of the claim. His claim is he nationalized. He nationalized through that process. That's you, and we just stay there. You analyze what his claim is. You stay there, and then don't allow nothing else. Don't allow someone else or him to interject why he did it and your analysis. No. That's not part of the claim. Because what happens is when he threw in that's why he did it, and then what happens? You went off to why he did it, and then you analyzing why he did it, but that's not his claim. That's what I'm saying. That's my whole point of people losing sight of the claim. Why he did is not his part. It's not his claim. Part of his claim. He said he nationalized, and I said where in the treaty that says specifically. Show me somebody. You got 3 minutes. Somebody pull up a treaty that says specifically that. Because that's a surrendering of sovereignty. Ain't no nation would do that. No nation will surrender their sovereign power. You're talking about a nation surrendering her sovereign power through a treaty to have another nation define who her citizens, her people are.
Now stop a minute, Professor. Stop a minute, Professor, please.
Let me finish it, Michael.
Okay.
Let me finish. I got to finish the thought.
Then give me the mic. After you finish that thought, give me the mic.
All right. You have naturalization treaties, and there's naturalization treaties, but that's a naturalization treaty. You have the 1780, because I have to finish this because they have to know this. You have the Louisiana Purchase Treaty, the Louisiana Purchase Treaty between France and the United States. Because I got to complete this thought for the lesson. Article 3 of that treaty between France and the United States, there is a citizenship clause in that treaty. There's also a citizenship clause in the Guadalupe Treaty between the United States and Mexico. So that's why I'm saying, show me in the treaty, and it has specific language. Those are citizenship clauses. There are naturalization treaties that nations have with one another. We must know this. That's why I'm interjecting, because, you know, so that's what I'm saying. So when we have to have the law of nations as a guide to analyze what people are saying. All right, Mike, you got the floor. Mike.
Yeah, yes,
Mike.
yeah. I just wanted to, right. Can you hear me? Yeah, I just wanted to just add, you know, just to kind of, you had made a good point. You said no nation, no sovereign nation would do that because they're waiving their sovereignty. Just like when I was just, when I first started speaking, I brought up the issue of Black, Negro, colored, African American. We allowed a foreign nation to tell us who we was. So therefore, we started to voluntarily aid and abet our own subjugation and conquest.
That's not what I said, Michael. That's not what I said.
I didn't say you.
But you didn't speak to what I said, though. Michael, you didn't speak to what I said.
I heard what you said.
No, what did I say then? Because that's not what I said. I said that's not done in treaty. There's
right.
no treaty. Michael, there's no treaty between the Emperor.
You're right. I'm not disagreeing, Professor. Let me speak. I'm not disagreeing with you. Let me just speak. You said, you made mention, you said that no nation would ever do that because that's waiving their sovereignty.
I said
no nation would ever.
No, I didn't say that.
Right. No. You did say, you said no nation would. Right. You said both, but you also did say that no nation would ever go to another nation.
In treaty, I was talking in treaty. I was talking treaty. So there's no treaty whereby we allow a foreign power to classify it as Black, Negro, colored. I was talking.
I understand. Okay. Well, either way, Professor, you made a point saying that no nation would.
Michael, it's not.
Abdullah, Michael, I heard what you said. Listen, I'm not going to argue with you, but I heard what you said, brother. I heard what you said. You did say that no nation would do that. That's waiving their sovereignty. They're not going to go to another nation to validate.
I was talking in context of treaty. You got to.
And all I'm saying. All right, go ahead. Take the floor, Professor. Take the floor. I have nothing. I have nothing else to say.
Taking what I'm saying out of context, though.
Brother, I have nothing else to say. You take the floor. I'm not emotional. Take the floor. I'm wrong. I'm in error. So you take the floor.
It has to be, what did I say in context? I was talking about treaties. I didn't make the statement in the vacuum. That's what I'm saying. Because that's not what I said. I was talking about the treaties. No nation with that in treaty. We did not allow no France, Germany in treaty agreement. In treaty. So we did not allow, in fact, those treaties protect against enslavement of Moors. So there's no treaty where we allowing Europeans to enslave us. In fact, it's the opposite. It protects against enslavement. SB Murray Bay.
Yes.
Or do we have another hand up? Is there another hand up? Is there another hand up?
He has the only hand up, as Maria Beck.
Yeah, I wanted to say, I wanted to get on the do not detain list, and I believe I accomplished that. You know, now I believe I fall up under international protected persons treaties with the UN, United Nations. You know, I did, I profess my nationality, and I use treaties to do it. I use the protection of the 1856 British Treaty that they have to follow, or their sovereign will severely punish them. And I use treaty articles in there. And I also use other international treaties to say I can do this, because the US passport, foreigners can come and get a US passport. So I applied as a Moorish Moroccan foreign national, and I got my passport, and I have 5 stars on it. So I might be on the international protected persons list or do not detain list. I'm not sure, but I know I use these treaties to do that. And hopefully if I get pulled over, I have my passport, they'll see my name in the system, do not detain. I'm a foreign national, because I did talk to a agent and he said, yeah, you are listed as a foreign national. So that's all I had to say. Well, you know, I was asking. Yeah, that was it. Peace.
All right, I'm going to say this again. I'm going to say this again. A Moorish government, that was a Moorish government, was not done by a Moorish government through legislation. Once again, your claim is you nationalized. What does that mean? Let me explain what that means. Is that that process has to be legislated by a Moorish government, whereby you come under the protection of a Moorish government, Moorish flag, and Moorish sovereignty. You talk about nationalizing. That's not done. The United States doesn't have that power. I hear what you're saying, brother. That is not in harmony with the laws of nations. I'm not this, brother. You did what you did what you have to do. I got that. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about that.
I don't want to be a U.S. citizen. I don't want to be a U.S. citizen.
I'm not. That's not. I got to make those who are listening to me, and those who be watching this, we must make it clear that you did not nationalize under the authority, the protection, the sovereignty of a Moorish government. That's why I want to clear, because people are going to be listening to this. They're going to be listening to this. They're going to hear you. They're going to hear me. And we just got to provide clarity. I just can't just let the statements go on without providing clarity.
All right, so
because they're going to think that that is a process of Moorish nationalization. It's not. It can only be done because that's Moorish sovereignty. You said Moorish nationalization. That's Moorish sovereignty. That's protection. That's under the being bought, meaning that you're being what? Brought in under the protection of the Moorish government, under the protection of Moorish flag, under the protection of Moorish sovereignty. You say nationalize. We have to understand what that word means. See, the key is nationalize, the key word.
Well, I proclaim my nationality, but like that. I proclaim my nationality.
It can only be done under the authority and sovereign power of a Moorish government. You don't proclaim no Moorish nationality under the authority of the United States.
So then what is the right of protection in Morocco, Article 15 about?
Under the authority of the Moorish government. That's why we have to restore Moorish government so we can sign on to these instruments. You said nationalization. That's Moorish sovereignty. You said Moorish. If you're talking about Moorish nationalization, you're talking about being back under the protection of the Moorish state, Moorish sovereignty. If you're talking Chinese nationalization, French nationalization, German nationalization, English nationalization, Nigerian, Jamaican nationalization, you said Moorish You don't go to the United States nowhere, United States anywhere, United States nothing, United States AC nothing. Talk about Moorish nationalization, because that brings you under protection of the Moorish government, Moorish sovereignty, and the Moorish flag. This is very important. Very, very important concept. This is major. You got people, and I was one of them, who think they're nationalized. They're not. I don't care what they say, they're not. How are you going to be nationalized when the Moorish state is still in collapse? This is why we have to restore Moorish government. Because you're talking nationalized, you're talking about all that. I mean, it doesn't make you a Moor. There's no process that even a Moorish government can legislate. A Moorish government can't legislate any process that make you a Moor, because that's your consanguinity, ancestry, your lineage. So no Moorish government, no Moorish, no one, no Moorish anything can make you a Moor. When you're talking nationalization, you're talking about bringing the Moors back under the protection of the Moorish sovereignty, Moorish government, on the Moorish flag. That's all it can be, because no process makes you a Moor. If you're talking about going to the United States, I know you ain't talking about no Moorish nationalization. If you're talking United States, there's no way in the world. If you're talking Chinese nationalization, and a Chinese goes to a United States State Department, Chinese, yeah, yo, y'all, hey, ching ching chong, ching ching chong, chong, yes, yeah, y'all, I'm gonna get nationalized, you know, Chinese nationalization. I'm going to the United States State Department. You're French. I'm going to the United States State Department. You're German. What I'm saying is that what you're saying doesn't match up to the laws of nations. We have to provide clarity in this so that we can reach this. We can do this. We can do this. Why you did it, I'm not talking about why you did it. Is it Moorish nationalization process? No. Why you did it is secondary. I'm not even getting caught up on why you did it. The claim is the process a Moorish nationalization process? No, no, no. El-Kanan.
And I'm asking this question actually to draw more clarity to the question that S. Murray Bay has asked, or has the statement that he made. I want to ask the question then, we're talking about nationalization, because you're right, this is a very major point that we're on right now. The part of the book that you read, and this is where all of this is stemming from, this one section. My thing is, then what is nationalization, A, and B, how does that relate to citizenship?
All right. In international law, I will read the second one. I'll answer the second one first. In international law, nationalization and citizenship are used interchangeably. That is colorable. That is colorable. They are not the same. They're not the same. So if you were to ask an international jurist, an international jurist will say they're the same. That international jurist would be wrong. That international jurist would be wrong, and they're going to say that. They're going to say that. In the world community, they interchange nationality and citizenship as though they had the same epistemology, same etymology, same origin, same meaning. That is a fraud. United Nations Human Rights Proclamation, Declaration of Human Rights Proclamation, Article 15, Section 1, Section 1, Article 15. Everyone has a right to a name and nationality. All right, that's fine. The second one is not fine. The second one is colorable. Everyone has a right to change. You can't change your consanguinity, your ancestry, your lineage, your descent. So what are they doing in the Article 15, Section 2 of the United Nations Human Rights Proclamation? They're using nationality in a colorable, distorted, constructive sense. And that's done to steal our birthright. Because nationality ties to consanguinity, ancestry, descent, pedigree, genealogy. So I wanted, it's very important that I clarify that. All right. So first question, what is nationalization? The political process of bringing a people or a natural person under the protection of a state, where by that natural person or people pledge allegiance to that state. As Murray stated, Moorish nationality, it cannot be done by France, Germany, United States, England, Jamaica. That's more, it can only be done under the sovereign authority of a Moorish government. So he did not nationalize on the Moorish, he did not go through a Moorish nationalization process. We must be clear on this. We'll continue with this. Amanda, we'll end with you. We'll continue with this with more clarity, with more next week. Go ahead, Amanda.
Yes, I just wanted for clarity as well, if to know if it's the government that would be nationalizing the people or the people that nationalize under it. I guess which you're muted. Still muted.
The government will be nationalizing the people. This is why we have to restore Moorish government. This is why we're doing what we're doing. And facilitating a Moorish intergovernmental alliance and connecting with Brother Al-Kanan so that we can facilitate a national Moorish government structure. I know people wanted 10 years ago. I know that. I know y'all wanted 10 years ago. I know y'all wanted 10 years ago. I know y'all wanted 10 years ago. I get you. You wanted 10 years ago. I get you. But once again, when we ring the bell, y'all better not be sitting in that stool. When we ring the bell, those who are on this call and those who've been, better not be remaining in this stool.
A quick question. I just wanted to try to get in touch with the brother S. Murray Bay. I had to try to send him a message. I don't know if he's able to see. I was wondering if I can get in touch with you, brother S. Murray Bay. This is the king.
All right, we're going to be ending in 1 minute, so let's get that. All right, so we want to thank everybody for joining us. All right. And until next week, this will be uploaded, by 11 o'clock. Well, it'll be uploaded. Yeah, it'll be uploaded on the YouTube page, right? Upload on the YouTube page, Moroccan Post Media YouTube page.
Absolutely.
In about an hour.
Right after we end.
All right. So we're gonna end now so Terrence can get that done because he has to work tomorrow morning.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. Peace, everyone.
All righty.
Peace.
All righty.
Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Peace. Great class.
Islam. Islam.